Welcome back to Torah in 10. I'm so excited to be here with you again. What's the life-changing idea Rabbi Sacks teaches us this week? Happiness lies beyond the self, in the strength of our relationships, in our connections to our community, and in what we give and are given by others. I could hardly wait any longer to share this class with you. Those of you who know me know that this idea is so near and dear to my heart. I could talk about it all day. True story, one of my favorite places to go. It's not the spa and it's not the mall. In fact, one year for our anniversary, my husband wanted to book me some spa treatments. I told him, do you know what I really want? I want to spend the day at Indigo, looking at all the pretty things, scanning the aisles for exciting books to read, and then sitting myself in a comfy chair with a coffee in my hand and read all day. I love to go to Indigo. So I happened to go there once looking for a Jewish book. Note to self, don't bother going to Indigo looking for Jewish books. The section is shrinking as we speak. But as I glanced away from the tiny Jewish section, I see to my right, the entire length of the store is filled with books on self-help, books on happiness, meaning, fulfillment, anger management, depression, sadness, and anxiety. And I looked at the thousands of books and I remembered one of my favorite quotes of all time. Simon Sinek says, there is an entire section in the bookstore called self-help. What we really need is a section called help others. Now, I'm in no way suggesting that the feelings of sadness, anger, depression should be pushed away. God forbid. I'm suggesting something else that I've experienced and I've observed over and over again in my life. So let's dive in. Rabbi Sacks says that the secular society has found a new God to worship. It's not idols and it's not money. It's the God of self. In 2017, there was a study done almost as a joke on a medical condition called selfits, describing people who feel compelled to keep taking selfies or photos of themselves and posting them on social media. 3 years later, studies confirm that there exists a condition like this, typically describing people who are attention seekers, often lacking self-confidence and hoping to boost their social standing. We all know people like this, or perhaps we too are suffering from it. The Holy Grail, says Rabbi Sacks, is that of self-esteem. But instead of turning to faith in something beyond ourselves, we turn to books, gurus, mentors who teach us how to help ourselves. The new religion tells us that we can achieve anything we want if we only know the secret. We can awaken the giant within, win friends, influence people, think and grow rich. And in some ways, there's a place for this, but it's all extremely self-centered. And that's the problem. The trouble with self-help is that the things that really change our lives almost always come from the outside. The Talmud tells the story of Rabbi Yochanan. He had great powers of healing. He would visit people who were sick and cure them by just the touch of his hand. One day, he himself became ill, and Rabbi Hananiah came and cured him. The Talmud asks the obvious question, why didn't Rabbi Yochanan not cure himself? It answers, a prisoner cannot release himself from prison. Our Torah, the instruction manual for life at the outset of creation, says it's not good for man to be alone. Happiness, meaning, fulfillment, blessing, the gift of life and a life well lived are not for most people to be found in the self, but beyond the self, in our relationships, in our families, and in our communities. And this brings us to our Parsha. The first thing Moses does after winning forgiveness from God for the Jews building the golden calf was Vayakhel, meaning to turn back to the community. And he did this in two ways. One, by beginning the construction of the Mishkan, the portable sanctuary for God, which would travel with the Jews for the 40 years in the desert. The best way, as we discussed in a previous class, to create a community is have people work together for a common goal, to work on something they can all participate and take pride in. Secondly, stated in our Parsha, ahead of building the sanctuary was Shabbat. Shabbat is the antidote to self-its. It's a day of coming together to separate from our self-interests, to focus on the interests of our family, of our community. It's not a day about me, but a day about us. Judaism is built on the foundation of Vayakhel, the act of gathering together as a community. Rabbi Sacks says, to be a Jew is not just a matter of believing or behaving, but also of belonging. I think that's my new favorite quote. We all know perfectly well that we are imperfect. Each of us lacks something. All of us is greater than any of us. This is something that social media puts in danger of forgetting. We all know that virtual relationships are not the same as face-to-face, and social media crowds and friends are different from communities. Being part of a community where we focus on others is good for our health, good for our happiness, and will help us navigate all the challenges that we face in our lives. And this is why self-help has limits. A prisoner cannot release himself from prison. The self cannot cure its own sickness. Rabbi Sacks says, we need the help of others to heal, to grow, to help us through hard times, and to remind us of our responsibilities when times are hard for others. Happiness lies beyond the self, in the strength of our relationships, our connections to community, and in what we give and are given to by others. And that is a life-changing idea we can all use. Thank you so much.